Can the IRS continue to collect tax after you filed a tax court petition? I'm Andrew Bosserman, a former IRS agent and tax attorney and founder of Boss Tax Law. And in this video, I'm going to answer that common question. So I get this question from clients, and I've seen it in action before, where the IRS may continue to send collection notices, assess tax, or attempt to collect a disputed tax after you filed a tax court petition. So the quick answer is no, they can't do that, but we'll dive into the details. So let's first just go back and start with the basics. When you receive a notice of deficiency from the IRS, you generally have 90 days to file a petition with the tax court to challenge the tax. Unless you're outside the United States, then you have some additional time. So this is your opportunity to challenge the IRS's determination before you pay anything, and that's why tax court is so powerful. But as it relates to collections, here's the key point. So filing a tax court petition should mean that the IRS is prohibited from collecting. It should act as what's known as an automatic stay, similar to as in bankruptcy. When you file bankruptcy, all your creditors are immediately prevented from attempting to collect their debts against you. Similar to a tax court petition, it's supposed to stop the IRS from any assessment or collection activity. But although this is the law and the way it should work, sometimes the real world, it doesn't quite work like that. Recently, I had a client reach out to me. It had been a few months since the tax court petition was filed, and she received an IRS notice and was understandably concerned. She was wondering why she was still continuing to receive notices. The balance keeps getting larger due to penalties and interest, and we hadn't yet made too much progress on her case, mainly because the IRS has to file some documents and it just takes a little while for tax court cases to proceed. Although she was somewhat panicked because she got the collection notice showing a very large balance due to the tax we're challenging in tax court, I immediately reassured her that unfortunately this is not necessarily an uncommon situation. Although the tax court petition should have halted all collection activity, sometimes there's just a breakdown in communication between the tax court and the IRS. Even though the petition was valid, properly filed, and should have prevented any collection activity, someone in the IRS just didn't input the correct information in her account to prevent collection. So this is more common than you think. The IRS is a massive bureaucracy, and sometimes there are breakdowns in communication between the IRS and tax court. So what if you're in this situation, and what did I do in this situation to fix it? First of all, you don't want to panic, but you also don't want to ignore collection notices. You can file what's known as a motion to restrain assessment or collection with the tax court. And what this motion essentially does is it asks the court to order the IRS to halt collection activity and follow the law like they're supposed to. The tax court has the authority to order the IRS to halt all collection activity while the case is pending. So if you find yourself in a similar situation, here are the few things you should do. So first, don't ignore collection notices just because you filed a petition with tax court and are challenging the tax. The IRS shouldn't be sending you collection notices. If you receive one, you still need to address it promptly. Second, you need to make sure you keep documentation of everything. Keep documentation regarding your tax court case, but also any collection notices or other IRS notices you receive while your case is pending, because you'll actually, as we'll see, need it for the motion you file at tax court. And third, you want to act quickly. You should file that motion to restrain assessment or collection. Generally, you have to attach a copy of the collection notice to the motion, and the court should rule that the IRS should halt their collection activity, which will prevent any additional IRS notices or them from taking further collection action. So, in conclusion, while filing a tax court petition should stop all collection activity, the system isn't perfect. When there's a breakdown in communication between tax court and the IRS, oftentimes your best remedy is to file that motion to restrain assessment or collection. You have rights as a taxpayer and you can challenge the IRS, and this is one of those times. You're going through tax court and you have the right, and the court knows this, to have all collection activity against you cease that relates to the tax you are challenging. So if you need help going through a tax court case or continuing to get collection notices, even though you filed a petition, or just have questions about the whole IRS dispute process, feel free to reach out and I'd be happy to help. But until then, please subscribe and comment if you found this video helpful.